Stewie Hemsley, welcome to the show again.
My pleasure, Vansh, always.
Why do you think people get depressed?
Starting off the bat with a pretty interesting question. I think more so on the controversial take side of things. I think being depressed it's a state of mind that allows you to then adapt. But I think depression itself doesn't necessarily exist. Now, I'm not saying that you can't be depressed, but I'm saying that an existential or just a prolonged state of depression is not something that is, one, normal, or two, I don't think that depression itself is the issue, it's the situation.
What do you mean by depression is a state of mind that lets you to adapt?
So, for example, you are going to experience trauma at some point in your life. Now, trauma has millions, well, not millions, but maybe thousands of different definitions from different people. So let's say we'll explore trauma in the sense of, so one thing that I do talk about quite frequently is one of my friends passed away in 2018 in a car crash. I was on the phone when it happened. Pretty traumatizing, you'd say.
Wow.
So that's something that I would consider is a traumatic event that can make you depressed. Because obviously, not only had my friend had passed away, but I was there to witness said friend passing away, which obviously leaves a mark. Now, that also meant that I had to adapt to different things because obviously I was 15 or something, maybe 14? 14? I was 14. So I was 14. I have heard someone die on the phone. It's not something that a lot of people get to, well, I was going to say the pleasure of saying that they have to experience that, but not many people can experience that. But it's the adaptation from not wallowing in pity and just letting it consume you. So instead of letting depression take over your mindset, because it's very easy to stay depressed because it's a very stable emotion. And I think a lot of people, they understand that. And that's why I think this whole agenda of it's okay to be depressed is out there, is because it's very easy to maintain. Happiness is volatile. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days. Can you maintain happiness? Sure. Are you going to have a bad day here and there every once in a while? Yeah, of course you are. If you've got loved ones, your loved ones are going to have bad days. Everyone dies inevitably, so you're going to lose a loved one or you're going to lose yourself. That's something that we all need to learn how to deal with. So that's why I think depression, it either pushes you or it's going to hold you in that same stagnant corner for however long it holds you in that stagnant corner. It's about getting a kick up the arse to get you out.
How can people differentiate between, okay, I'm in this depressive state now, I should probably let myself mourn or let myself feel this feeling, versus I should probably get up and start moving on with my life now? Because if it is a stable emotion, that means from the point where this traumatic event happens, you become depressed. If the feeling is the same throughout, how do you know when you need to start moving forward?
It's not necessarily stable. I think it's just very easy to maintain because we've got so much access to media that is inevitably depressive. You've got sad music, sad quotes, sad films, sad videos. You've got, and again, it's a confirmation bias. If you have something telling you you are depressed, you are so sad because you have, lost the love of your life, you're going to read that and go, shit, man, maybe I am really sad. And it's going to make you even sadder. It's so easy to stay in that mindset. And trust me, I have been there. It is so easy, but it takes someone, a absolute bell end of a human, to write a note and put it on the side, tell you stop being a bitch and go to the gym, for you to stop being a bitch and go to the gym.
I get it. And I think there's a lot of media out there that will reinforce this emotion that you're feeling that may not be beneficial long term. Maybe sometimes you do need to mourn and think,
100%.
But there's a lot of reinforcing media out there. The only pushback I'll have is not to give so much stick to this idea of indulging in these sad things. Like, music will enhance an emotion. So it's like,
of course,
there's plenty of studies that have been done to show the effects of music on someone's emotion. If you feel terrible and you play a happy song, it can boost your mood a little. It's the same way the other way around as well. If you're happy and you play a sad song, it's probably going to depress you a little.
Said I do this. See, if I get really like, and I'm like proper, like I don't feel great, I put party rock anthem on, it fixes me up immediately. It actually works.
Some LMFAO.
It does. It really does.
What a throwback. I used to have the CD for all their songs, like Party Rock Anthem. Oh, what's that? Sorry for party rocking.
Sexy and I know it.
Yeah, bro. That will get you going. That'll get you going. What I mean is, like, I think there's a lot of stick for this idea of melancholy. And I think the UK is fairly melancholic. And I think they're what, second most depressed country in the world. But there are some upsides to this idea of, well, not depression, but
I was about to say, if you were about to say upsides to the UK.
Well, there are. To this idea of being able to relate with each other. I think we are very dark in that sense. It's like, okay, I feel terrible. Everyone else feels terrible. Let's talk about how terrible we feel. It's this sense of community. It's like, okay, it's not just me who feels like this. I'm not alone in this. So it may be like a remedy to loneliness and this relation between social media and the sad music and the sad posts, or speaking to someone who's also gone through a sad thing. There's this relation between each other. It's this relief from loneliness.
No, I can agree. I can agree too. To quite a fair extent. But I do think that there is a fine line between, allowing for some melancholy and then obviously just staying in that state and allowing it to consume everything you do. Because I think it does for quite a few people.
Staying in the state for a long time can lead to stagnation, stasis. Like, I don't disagree. Like, which is why I asked the question, how do you know when to get back up and just keep moving?
If it's starting to affect necessary portions of your life, i.e. sleep, work, general duties, like if you're not washing your clothes, or you're not washing your bed sheets, or you're not brushing your teeth, or you're not, doing the stuff that you not should be doing, but need to be doing, or eating even. I think that's overlooked as, we always talk about, have you eaten anything today? If someone is in that depressive state. And if you are in a point where you are, I'm not talking about being in a depressive state. Like, let's say your mum just died and you are not able to eat. That is perfectly fine. But what I'm saying is, if you're staying there for a prolonged period of time, one is not only your mental health is just going to stay in that stagnant, deteriorated state, but your health's going to start deteriorating, and everything is going to, it's a domino effect. So if it's starting to affect everyday life and your duties to, not neglect yourself effectively, that's when you need to make a change. That's when you need to really take the finger out and get up and do stuff. I know it's easier said than done, and it's easier with people around you, but if you do have a support network, or if you've got a friend, just ask them, do you want to fucking go for a walk or something? Just something like that. Just something simple to get you out to do one thing, and then try and then branch out from there. Take yourself out your comfort zone. Again, easier said than done, but if you can do it, it usually takes you out, and you will go, I like to think about it like this. It's like a slingshot theory. You heard of the slingshot theory? So obviously if you go all the way down, it then propels you forward like massively all the way up. That's exactly what happened this year for myself. So all the way down, now I'm back up then.
As in, it's this idea of turning to a terrible situation to something incredibly positive.
You're basically using the momentum of the terrible. So you're using that momentum, and then it's just fling, and you've gone Mac fuck to wherever you were wanting to get to.
It's very similar to the region beta paradox. You heard of this?
I've heard of the name, but I've not.
Well, if you were to go 1 mile or less as in distance, you'd walk it.
Yeah.
If you were to go 2 miles, you'd probably bike it.
I think we touched on this.
Yeah, you'd probably bike that distance. Yeah. So paradoxically, you'd actually travel 2 miles quicker than you'd go 1 mile.
Yeah.
And it's this idea that, let's put this in a real life example. If you go to the job that's pretty stable, you don't like your boss, like he's really annoying, makes your life a misery, but it just pays you enough to keep a stable life. The apartment that you rent out, it's pretty bad. Like the walls are peeling off. There's a little mold in the corner, but it's cheap. So you might as well stay there. Or the relationship that's getting a little toxic, but you know,
It's just good enough.
she looks good enough, or like
She looks good enough.
yeah,
She looked at me that shallow now.
like it's the relationship is just good enough, but it's getting a bit toxic. But you decide to stay because it's comfortable.
You like to stay in that. It's comfortable, but it's not what I need to be.
Exactly. So you'd be better off if your situation was worse
Yeah.
than this comfortable position, because then that would give you the motivation and the catalyst in order to
Stop doing
move
that.
forward. And that's what you mean by the slingshot.
Slingshot, indeed.
There's actually a really funny question Chris Williamson talks about. Apparently on one of his shows, someone asked him saying, you talk about the region beta paradox, how you'd be better off if you're in a worse position to give yourself the motivation to improve. Should I purposefully ruin my life in order to give myself the motivation to slingshot forward?
Funny you say that. I actually know one of my clients did this, actually. Not going to mention who, but if you watch this, you know exactly who you are, you cheeky tar. He was like, I have got into a relationship with this crazy woman, and I was like, why have you done this to yourself? And he was like, but you know when we first started and that girl broke up with me and I made the most gains, I want that to happen again. It worked. At what cost is the question, because, well, let's just say, as a coach, I do a fair bit of therapy as well. Not necessarily therapy, but I speak a lot about life and experiences and stuff. Oh my God. He's not real. He's not real. He's not real. Wait, she was nuts. Like, genuinely, probably, like, the stories I was hearing about what she was doing was genuinely some of the worst things I've ever heard. Like, I don't understand how people can be like that. Kind of crazy. And yeah, well, I mean, it definitely pushed him to do an exceptional growth phase, and he definitely ended up getting some size on him.
I'm actually surprised that works. Like, considering that your intention to get in the relationship was like, okay, it's
because it's like trying to lie to yourself.
Exactly.
You can't do it, but somehow he did it. So I was kind of like, do you know what? Fair enough, mate.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he got in the intention of lying, like actually lying to himself, and he was like, yeah, you know what? Maybe she's not that bad, and then ends up just coming back full circle. I mean, we all know how
we've all been there.
We know how love is a drug. It manipulates your brain, oxytocin, serotonin, yeah, and the rumination phase and all stuff like that. It'll manipulate you. So it could definitely be happening. You know, it's an interesting question about I was kind of thinking about this when we were speaking about the depression thing. A lot of people struggle to get out of the depressive state that they're in from something because they lack purpose or meaning. I think it would be so much worse if someone's purpose came from how, like, the providing that they can do for their girlfriend or their family, or they're doing it because they want to help out their mom or something like that. I don't know. It's an interesting question to ask. If, say, for example, that meaning and that purpose that they're doing it for, like their mom, their girlfriend, if that were to be stripped away from them, how can they even grasp up a sense of meaning again?
I think some people like to not necessarily cope with it, but some people do. I don't think cope is the right word, but it could potentially be in certain cases. They do it in memory of, or in lieu of, or, you know, as a with respect to, you know, I do this because that's what they would have wanted. It's like when you go to a funeral, I could wear pink for all I care, but the thing is, is it what they would have wanted? You know, you can always use it as it's what they would have wanted or whatever. If they're not around to do it, who's to say that? And you can sort of kid yourself as well in these ways as well. Because half the time when I'm like, you know, I'm doing this thing because my dad is going to be proud of me. Breaking news, he's not, he won't be. But pushes me to do better because I'm like, he might be, but he probably won't. So if you can kid yourself, now you can't lie to yourself, but you can, some false hope, I would say, is the better way to describe it. If you can give yourself false hope, you can usually like push further. So for example, if they've lost their sense of like motivation, if it's doing it for their girlfriend or doing it for the missus, if they, you know, if their missus passes away or their missus leaves, you know, they can continue doing that as I can be better for her, or, you know, if they passed away, then it could be I'm doing it because it's what she would have wanted, kind of vibe. That mentality is what could push people to continue.
It's strange because I think the best way to look at it is finding meaning in the suffering. So something bad will happen. It'll cause you to feel this roller coaster of emotions, whether that be from being despondent into missing that person, or into regrets of like not spending enough time with them. Within that suffering, I feel like that's exactly what we're talking about here, about this is what they would have wanted, or like to move on from that point is to find meaning in that suffering in itself. And I think that's something a lot of people struggle to do. Again, this goes back to sitting in that comfort zone where it's like, okay, this terrible thing has happened to me. I don't really want to move from it because it's stable, it's comfortable, I could just sit here all day. And to go out there means to expose myself to another reality where this situation could happen again. So I may as well just sit here. But I think this idea of finding meaning in the suffering is really potent.
It's what the gym is, effectively.
What do you mean?
Finding meaning in the suffering, because if you go to the gym for one time, you know, the first gym session you do, you're going to get horrendous delayed onset muscle soreness. It's going to be horrible. But you know, well, I mean, you know now, because of the research that's behind it, if you keep doing that, you're going to get bigger. But by these guys in the 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s that were doing it, they found meaning in the suffering because, you know, they didn't have any end goal in mind. You know, people nowadays, they've got the end goal of, you know, oh, I'm trying to be Mr. Olympia. Mr. Olympia didn't exist back then, so why did they do it?
Well, they didn't have bodybuilding once.
In the 20s, not so much.
Oh.
But yeah, you had these guys that were just training for the purpose of, you know, getting, you know, they didn't know they were getting bigger, but they just enjoyed it. They enjoyed the suffering, which is why I think the gym can be looked at as a sort of form of self-harm to a degree, just because you are effectively just beating the shit out of yourself for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, however long you're in. But it does come with a reward. And that's also something that I like about the gym, is it's, you know, you can't buy a good body and you can't cheat your way into a good body either. Because even if you take steroids, you still have to put the work in. You still have to spend the time, because, you know, it's not going to blow you up overnight. It's not going to blow you up in 2 weeks or 3 or 4. 6 months, you might look a bit better, but you're not going to have a super respectable physique. You do a year on gear, maybe. But that's the thing. You still have to put the time in. You still got to put the effort in, because it reflects how you are as a person. If you eat like shit, you're going to look like shit. It's the same concept. That's why I don't like fat people. I know that's a controversial take. And it's not that I don't like fat people. I just don't like lazy people. Because, I mean, I know plenty of people who, but we'll call them fatletic. Do you know what I mean?
Fatletic.
Like they're bigger than normal. They're not like rugby players, for example.
Okay.
They're fatletic. You know, they're not obese. They're not skinny. They're fucking rapid and they're massive and strong. They're great. They're fine. They've also got good work ethic. But I also find that if you can't respect your temple, your body, how are you meant to respect anyone else's? Because, you know, it comes back to the saying is, how can you love someone if you truly do not love yourself? How are you meant to find someone if you've not found yourself? Because you can't. And as much as people say you can, I disagree.
We were talking earlier before we started this about how you thought self-love wasn't as, what's the word? As everyone makes it seem. You know, it's not something that is going to change your life. But given this, then
Self-love is not going to change anyone's life. It's gonna put you in that stagnant hole that depression will put you in. Because if you are, for example, you're a woman who is 425 pounds and everyone's telling you, oh girl, love yourself, love each and every role. Sorry. I can't take that seriously. Let's say you're a girl who's 425 pounds and you are being told that you can love yourself, and that's not healthy. Now, loving yourself can come in many different forms, and I think there should be a degree of self-love for I bet you love how far you've come in podcasting. Do you still have further that you can go? Yes. But do you love how it's come from the ground up? It's the same way as I love how I've built my body all the way up to how it is now. Am I near enough where I want to be? No. But I'm still proud of what I've got. It's not self-love, it's self-pride. Being happy with what you've achieved. But I also think that it does come under a sense of the fact that if we go back to the original point, which is the self-love, that girl, if she just stays 425 pounds, she's going to die. She will, because, there's going to be some form of issue that comes about being that heavy or being that fat that will inevitably kill her. Whether that's, cholesterol or heart issues or, some form of failure within an organ, whatnot. If you told her, listen here, Tubby, you need to lose weight, you are unhealthy, and she, then the self-hatred bit comes in. That's what's going to drive you to do better. And literally, as we say before we started this, I had one of my friends message me saying, the 12-month transformation needs to be studied, and I just said, top tip, just hate yourself enough. If you genuinely do not like yourself enough, you will push yourself to do better. And I'm speaking from experience, because I used to be a fat fucking tubby little kid, and everyone was like, oh, look at Fat Paps over there. What did it do? It pushed me to do better. I would not be in the position I am without all those kids calling me fat. Shout out real ones, by the way. Real ones.
To push back on the, I need to like this whipping into submission, into pushing forward. This, I think it's very dependent on the person, because I can see plenty of people who take that message and fall into this negative emotional spiral and never get out of it, because maybe they did need that little bit of motivation and that foot up and that self-love. This is the problem with a lot of the advice that goes around. It's like the people who really need to hear it aren't going to hear it. They're just going to ignore it. But the people who don't really need that piece of advice are going to take it to heart. So the best example is like if you tell guys to stop being so pushy, the people who are too pushy aren't going to hear that piece of advice.
No.
But the people who aren't pushy enough are going to hear that and then stop being even less pushy. And it's like a reinforcement of their less pushiness.
I get that. I think there should be like, not standards. I think with like obesity, I think there should be like a general standard for health, because we need to start taking into account, but we need to start taking responsibility for people, especially the people around you, because everyone knows that one obese friend. Everyone's got an obese friend, or at least they know someone who is obese. The thing is, if you are just, I do genuinely believe that, and it doesn't just come with fatness. It doesn't come with obesity. It comes with everything. I'm not a type of friend to tell my friends that they're doing good when they're not. If they're being idiots, or they're being stupid, or they're making a bad decision, or they're going to make a bad decision, or they've made a bad decision, or they're about to make a really bad investment, or they're about to, whatever. If it's a negative, if whatever they're doing, your actions has negative connotations, I'm going to tell them. If I think they can do better, I'm going to tell them I think they can do better. If, they can lose weight, or they need to lose weight because it needs to be done. I'm not saying if they want to lose weight, or if, I'm not saying people who are like a little bit overweight. Like if you've got like a little bit of man boob going on, it's not that bad. I'm talking about like proper, like health issue level size. Tell them. I think that's neglectful as a friend if you don't tell. And it's the same way as if, let's say your mate's just had his girlfriend of 8 years split up with him. If he's just necked a bottle of vodka and has decided to get in the car, and you let him, that's neglectful. That is super neglectful. It's the same way as, because that's dangerous to his health. It's the same way as someone being morbidly obese. There's a reason why it's called morbidly, not just obese, because it's morbid, i.e. likely to harm.
It's very similar to Jordan Peterson's idea of what makes a good friend. A good friend is someone who will
tell you the things you don't want to hear but need to hear, rather than what you want to hear / don't need to hear.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, he says that a good friend, when you can tell who a good friend is from when you tell them good news and when you tell them bad news. If you tell them good news, a good friend will celebrate alongside with you. A bad friend will be like, oh, you don't deserve this, or like, I did all of this and I didn't get this, and like, you didn't put the work in and stuff like that. Or like, you got lucky. They will not celebrate alongside with you. That's a bad friend. But a good friend, alongside with what you were just saying, it's just, they'll tell you what you need to hear. They will call you out on your shortcomings.
Oh, I will call people out.
Yeah. They'll call you out on where you fall short. They'll call you out on the things that you're fucking up and the things that you're not doing right and the shit that you think is good for you. And most of us don't even know what's good for us, especially when it's manipulated by emotion, which is a lot of the time.
I think that's like, if you have the ability to be unbiased in a friend or acquaintance's actions, that is fantastic. Because again, bias is what's going to drive things. Like, I have multiple times wanted to go to do something because it's a personal bias, because I want to do it. And then my friend's been like, Stu, mate, you are being so stupid. Stop doing that. Like, don't do that, because it's just going to be bad for you. And then I've been like, do you know what? Yeah, you're actually right. And then I don't do it. If they'd not been there and they'd not been in that in that space when I needed them, then I would have gone and done that, and it will have been detrimental. And that's why I appreciate Leo. I'm gonna say that right now. I live with my best mate. Now, am I gonna say, is he a bit of a knob sometimes? You're damn straight. He's a massive knob at times. But he is also one of the type of people where he will say what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. When I was, because I got divorced in March, and I spent about 3 months, bloody hell, not 3 months, 3 weeks in my room just drinking alone. I didn't eat anything at all. 3 weeks. It was just pure liquors and whatnot and so on and so forth. And he went to Ireland to go and watch someone's show. And he just left a note on the side. He was like, right, stop being a little bitch, drinking alone in your room, go to the gym, take a shot of test like a man, get back on it. Like, you need to just stop wallowing in your self-pity because it's not good for you. And that woke me up. No one had said anything to me. No one, there were people around me who were just like, bro, you need to just chill. Like what he said to me was that he said it in black and white, as bluntly as humanly possible. And it was the kick up the arse that I needed. And that's what I would consider a good friend, is someone who tells you what you need to hear. Because I needed to hear that. I didn't want to hear it. I felt shit after it. But in the long term, it was a much better move to tell me that rather than just leave it.
I wonder the reason. I think we all know that our justifications for the things that we're doing it's unreasonable, like, a lot of the time. So I'm putting it like this. Say your situation. You feel pretty bad about yourself. You're feeling sorry for yourself. And as soon as Liam says something, it like kind of snapped you to reality. Our emotion acts first. We've spoken about this a lot of the time. Our emotion acts first. We'll then rationalize it after. We'll try figure out justification, like, oh, I feel like this way, so I'm going to do this because I feel like this way. And once we've created that justification, it then starts edging us towards doing that thing, whether that be positive or negative. It will still start pulling us toward it. And in the back of our mind, in another room in our head, we're kind of thinking to ourselves, I shouldn't be doing this, like to some little extent. And then when you have people around you reinforcing that this thing that you're doing is fine, relax and do X, Y, Z, it starts reinforcing that even more and even more. But still, that post hoc reasoning from the emotion, it's not strong because it's just like this quick justification to this emotion. You need something. You'd rather that than uncertainty. So once your friend comes by and they snap you back to reality, it's like that is a strong enough reason to snap you back into reality. Yep. And then it brings you start.
It's almost like you've got the bias that if it's bad enough for them to say something about it, you probably should do something about it. Do you know, like if I said to if I said something to Liam about how, I'm going to go and do X, Y, Z, and he's like, why? Sometimes he'll just do that. Sometimes he won't say you're being stupid, or he'll say why. That's it. One word with a question mark at the end of it. And I'll just be like, you know what? I don't know. So I'm not going to do it anymore. And it's as simple as that. It just takes someone questioning what you're doing for you to effectively not do it. Because if you can't justify it on the spot, why are you doing it?
It's probably emotion.
Exactly.
But then again, it goes a little deeper than that, because a lot of people will be able to bring up a reason. I'll probably say, I can't think of a situation right now, but say, for example, if I were to ask someone why they go clubbing, right? And some people might do it for social validation.
Oh, I've got a great reason for this.
But some people might do it for the social validation, peer pressure. They want to fit into like a group or tribe. Everyone wants to fit into a group or a tribe. So they'll do that. And then when you ask them the question, why, they'll make up a response like, oh, it's fun. And this is the issue, right? There's this thing called, I have it written down, it's called Agrippa's triangle, Agrippa's trilemma. And it argues that it's impossible to fully justify any belief because any attempt leads to one of three unsatisfying options. The first one is infinite regress. Each justification requires you to refer back to belief. So there's like why, and you're just constantly going, and you can never come to
you have the option one, right? So why? And then you explain, and then so why?
Exactly.
And it just keeps going. Yeah.
So unsatisfying outcome near the end. Second one, circular reasoning. So a justification refers back to belief just to justify it. So it's like, why do you do this? Oh, it's because of this thing, and then it's because of this thing, and it's because of this thing, and then you never reach a response. Circular reasoning. And finally, the last one is just dogmatism. So an unjustified foundational assumption that can no longer be questioned. So it's most of the time it's like, oh, it leads back to God. Can't say that.
That's something that I have an issue with. Is people with it, not necessarily with religion, but it's the flaw in, because I used to be religious, but I realized the flaws. And now I'm not saying that I don't agree with religion. I think that religion is beautiful, and I think that the communities created by religion are beautiful. However, when we have the questions that are like, oh, what created this? And then it's like, what created man? God. What created the earth? God. What created the universe? God. Actually, what created the earth, the universe, or whatever? What created God? Oh, God doesn't get created. Everything has to be created by something. Because if I say, who created your small child? Oh, you two. Who created you two? Oh, my parents. Who created this? Their parents. It leads back to ultimately something. Yes, so what created God? But God defies all the... Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
It's the dogmatism.
It's the dogmatism of religion is why I disagree. Is because it can't be explained. And I think it is it's... I hate the phrase holy cope, but it's holy cope of the unknown.
It's a shame, right? Because I don't want to speak too much on one side of the argument where it's like, okay, God doesn't exist. These are the reasons why. Because I haven't looked in too much of the reasons.
I can give reasons for and against.
Yeah,
I would. To be fair, I would consider myself halfway atheist, halfway agnostic. Because I mean, I could justify that God exists. I wouldn't align with the religion, but at the same time, as I could also justify that God does not exist.
Yeah, I mean,
it's half. It's like a pretty even scale.
It's a shame. As I was saying, I can think of so many reasons and so many, like, I think it makes sense for people to believe such a thing.
Yeah.
But there's just so many caveats to explain why.
Too many caveats.
Yeah, to explain why people are atheistic. There are so many caveats, and the main ones being like the main argument of like why the Bible exists. Like, do you really expect the accuracy of the Bible to be as it is now, considering that it was translated from an Arabic speaking man into Latin into English, and it's as accurate as Jesus' word? Like, if I were to ask you what we talked about 5 minutes into this conversation, you wouldn't even remember like the exact words of it. If anything, the thing that I said 30 seconds ago, most of the people in casual conversation would never remember that. But you expect me to believe?
Yeah, there was always some dude with a pen at every conversation that Jesus was in.
That's a good point. But so how do you?
It just wasn't.
Yeah, but
Yeah, how would you? No one has that much fader. Especially in those times. Again, that's why I like the dogmatism of it. Although I do think that there are some coincidences within, I think, pretty much only monotheistic scriptures, which I look at and I'm like, that is pretty sick. How did they know that?
Now, this is interesting, right? Because there was a study done, I think in the 70s, that showed the unreliability of eyewitness testimonies. So there's a story. I'm not going to write it down here, but I do remember it. So in the 70s, there was this woman. She was sitting in her house and she was watching on TV someone called Donald Thompson. And he was doing this live show talking about, quite ironically, eyewitness testimonies and the unreliability of them. While she's sitting there, someone breaks into her house, robs her. She calls the police after they leave, and they ask her for the details. She describes all the details. She tells them that it's this person, says it's Donald Thompson, actually. She says it's Donald Thompson, who's come into her house and robbed her. They say, okay, we're going to bring you in and we're going to bring all these people in. You're going to tell us which person it was out of this. So they bring Donald Thompson and a bunch of other people and line them up and then ask her to tell who the robber was. She comes in and she says, oh, it's him. And she points at Donald Thompson. She says it was him. But then he says in court, while they're trying to plead guilty or not guilty, he says, this is not true. My biggest alibi is at the time the robbery happened, I was live doing a show speaking about this thing I've been researching in front of hundreds of people. There's no way you can take me in for this. And one of the police guards in the court, and he makes a joke as well alongside it, just to explain how no one believed him. It was like, oh, you might as well say that Jesus and Santa Claus were your witnesses as well. So no one believed him on this. Later they find out that it wasn't him and his alibi checked out. And what actually happened is that during this robbery, Donald Thompson was on the TV. This robber comes in. He robs the house, sexually assaults her, and leaves. There's a lot of emotion and a lot of chaos involved with this, that she'd actually ingrained Donald Thompson's image into her brain and her memory of the situation because he was playing on the TV at the time.
I think that's also something that you can relate towards a lot of other things. It's not just eyewitness accounts. I think this can be related to how you purvey things. So I think certain things have not emotions, but they have emotions attached to them. So for example, if I sprayed your ex's spray right now, you'd know exactly what it was and you'd know what it reminds you of. Same way for me. Same way as if I spray the spray that I wore in 2023, I know exactly what, that was before I started collecting perfumes. I think that's also like a coping mechanism for me. I've kind of like thought about it, but I think the reason why I collect so many perfumes is so that now I no longer have one that now directly correlates to bad memory. So I can now have multiple because if you ask me what fragrance did you wear Tuesday last week, I don't know. The thing is, if you ask me what for fragrance did you wear for the whole of that one relationship, Stronger With You Armani, there's a reason I don't own it anymore because it holds memories. I think smells hold memories, specific things hold memories, like, a specific car. Because you ever noticed if you get into a relationship with someone who has a specific car, it doesn't need to be a special car. It could be a Mazda 2. And suddenly now you see only Mazda 2s on the road.
Mm.
Yellow cars. If you look for yellow cars, you're going to find yellow cars.
Yeah. It's like confirmation bias.
Confirmation bias.
If you're looking for it, you'll find it. Yeah, it's an interesting case study because there's two types of memory failures. The one type being that you don't remember it at all. The second time you remember it inaccurately. And to go back to our original point about the religion, chances that something like this could happen because of how unreliable eye testimonies are. Can we really believe the written accounts of people who saw this happen in front of them? Like, because Jesus was around so much, he'd been seen as this biblical figure, this religious figure, like the Son of God. Say, for example, I'm not saying this is true, but like this is some speculation. Like, say, for example, the resurrection, something insane happens on that day, something that they can't explain.
Yeah.
maybe not a religious thing, but something that literally they scientifically can't explain.
Yeah.
Because Jesus has been around so much, it's been so ingrained in their head, they can relate that situation to Jesus. It might have even been fried into their brain where they remember it inaccurately. Like, okay, Jesus died. We're mourning him. This incredible thing has just happened near his grave. He's been raised from the dead. And it's like,
yeah, no, I can see that happening. Again, that's why I think there's a pretty even scale is where we can say, is it real? Is it, there's that question that remains, which is why I can't consciously, in good conscience, like align with a specific religion. That is why I choose not to, because that also means that I can also be friends with everyone from every religion. I don't care. Everyone's my friend.
yeah, I mean, we've spoken about this, how Richard Sosis did that one study with looking back in the past at different religious societies, how they compared to secular societies. Interesting study. I can't remember what it was called, but the results he came to, like, this is waving the flag for the religion side of it. The conclusion that he came to was religious societies were just better functioning than those that were secular.
Yeah.
I think it was the percentages, it was like 40% of religious societies actually progress and industrialize.
Do you think that with the modernization and the progression of the UK becoming theoretically more secular and slightly less religious is driving the country apart? Less people are going to church, less churches are being built, more churches are being knocked down.
Secularness driving people apart? I'm not too sure whether it's, I think it's a factor contributing to it. Don't know how big of a factor it is. Like, there's plenty of other things that you can get into. I think people are becoming more Manichaean. Manichaean? Yeah. Manichaean was like an old ancient religion, which basically said that there's light and dark. They can never be together. Like, you can never have bipartisan agreements. I think the quote that was said was, the God and devil never make bipartisan agreements, so why should you? And it's this, that you should never come to compromise. That's their agreement. And I think people are becoming more Manichaean. I don't think they're doing this consciously because it's an old religion. I don't think many people know about it. In terms of whether the secularness is affecting the UK, it could be to some extent. Since everything's becoming a bit more liberal than conservative, could be a part of it. Not sure the long-term effects, or like whether this is like a big deal, whether there's other things at hand. Like, I think to some extent, your nationality is a sense of religion in a way.
Oh yeah.
Like, the UK, if you are a national British person, like you form community in the same way that religious people would.
Especially if you meet Brits on holiday.
Yeah.
You ever notice that you always align towards, oh, you guys are British as well? It's like, I'm in Nottingham. I'm a Scottish bloke. And if I notice a Scottish accent, you Scottish lad. Every time. And then we end up having a conversation because it does create that sense of community.
Again, I can't remember the name of the study, but there's again another study done where people were actually more, what's the word? They're more comfortable around people with the similar accents versus the same skin color. Like, if you see someone with the same skin color,
notice that I do this.
Yeah, if you notice someone with the same skin color, I can't remember the study, but it was something along the lines of like people of the same skin color walking and trying to have a conversation. There was not that much. They weren't as warm towards people of the same skin color as they were towards people who had the same accent.
I lean into accents.
What do you mean?
I did it subconsciously for years. I've done it subconsciously for years. I don't know why I do it, but I subconsciously changed my accent to not necessarily mimic those around me, but to get closer to those around me. I think it might be something to do with that, because I think I must have subconsciously realized that if I change the accent, if I think about putting a Scottish accent on, my regular one that I speak to my mum and my friends in that are from Scotland, then obviously it changes to that. But, if I speak to someone from France or something, I speak pretty good French. It's not completely fluent, but it's close enough.
Can we get some? Get over French.
Qu'est-ce que tu fais aujourd'hui?
Oh fuck, I don't even know what does that mean.
That means what are you doing today? So, but when I speak to French people, my accent changes. Like I'll start like, it goes to like the third line, speak like that, because it gets more, I think it gets more rapport out of it. But I have done work in sales as well. So I have also noticed that if I speak in a specific accent to specific people, it usually gets a better sense of trust. Because obviously, as I say quite frequently to when I'm teaching people how to sell, is if you get approached by a guy on the street selling you AirPods, you want a pair of AirPods, and it's just miraculously this guy in the street's got a pair of AirPods for you. And he's like, my brother, I give you a good deal for this. Are you going to buy that, or are you going to go to the Apple store?
You couldn't go to the Apple store.
Because you trust it.
Mm.
It's the same way as if you have that accent, you're like, you have a sense of security because it's your homeland. You're like, I know these people. I trust it. So that's something that I've noticed that I do quite recently, actually. I know I changed my accent for a while, but I kind of realized that I do it because it matches other people's accents now.
It's very interesting how potent it is.
Really.
Not even to get too political, but I think the secularism may be a part of it, but I think a bigger part of the divide may be because of the mass immigration. Get a lot of people coming in who have different accents and different cultures, and alongside with different looks, gonna find a lot of people finding things that are different about other people.
It's the different cultures, I think, that take into account, we need to take into account how different some cultures are from ours. Because, you've got some cultures that, their women are not allowed out. So they come into the UK and they're like, yo, that's a bitch. But, like they're really, really out of their what they're used to. Their normality has been completely ruined. Now, obviously, some of the reasons why these people are here is because of war, famine, whatever. But still, if you take them out of their original habitat, we're gonna call it habitat because it kind of is. If you take a chameleon out of the rainforest and put it in the, put it in the UK, is it going to survive? Well, probably not. It's got to adapt. Humans are very quick at adapting. Chameleons aren't.
Well, I mean, it depends. It depends on whether they're being pressured by the surroundings to adapt. Again, if people aren't, as I spoke to you earlier, but before we started this, it's like, if there's no active effort into trying to integrate these people into society, you're going to have an issue. Yeah. You're going to have an issue. You're going to have a clash of cultures. You're going to have friction.
It's the same with learning languages. Like, if you want to learn a language, you know what the best way to learn a language is? Submerge yourself in the culture. If you have to adapt, you will learn the language much fucking quicker. Because if you physically, if you're just going on Duolingo and it's like, right, cool, bonjour means hello, and quoi means what, and this, because you've got that reference point, which is like, right, this is the English, this is the French. You're always, pretty much always, you're gonna say something in your head. You're gonna be like, right, qu'est-ce que tu fais aujourd'hui? That means, what are you doing today? Whereas if you learn it in a fashion where you just submerge yourself and you're like, oh shit, I don't understand anything these people are saying, I'm going to have to pick it up. You're going to learn it better, because then you're going to speak French. You're not going to speak English, but with a French. You're going to be speaking in French, thinking in English. It's a lot harder that way. Whereas when you go to speak French, or at least in my understanding for learning languages, if you just submerge yourself in the culture, you're going to learn it so much quicker. Is it harder? For the first bit, yes. Quite a lot, but once you adapt, you pick it up quite well, because there's also something that I like to always say is the way it's written on paper, especially writing in French, is very different from the way that people speak. So obviously you have slang, you have colloquialisms, you have stuff like that. If you spend your time around people, you're going to pick up slang, you're going to pick up colloquialism. So for example, how do you say hello in French?
Bonjour.
You wouldn't say that. In spoken French, you would pretty much never say bonjour. It never really gets said. You'd say coucou, or you'd say, if you're being slightly more informal, you'd say something like wesh bien quoi. Because if you went to go and approach me, as you did in the hallway, what did you say?
So, what's up?
You say, yo, what's good?
Yeah.
So you say something like wesh bien quoi, that means yo, what's good. Wesh is a very yo in the English language. you've got stuff like that. Because if you say, bonjour to someone in French, they're like, yeah, get a load of this idiot. Like, it's the same way as if I come up to you and I go, hello, how are you? Are you good today? You sound very robotic, which is why I think reading French and then speaking French is why you should learn through speaking. Immerse yourself, you learn it quicker.
I mean, it's interesting. It explains why when I go to India to see my family and I speak Hindi, I've been told that my Hindi is really rude.
Yeah.
That's just because
it just comes across blunt.
Yeah, it comes across blunt. So I can imagine that being the case. And also, I've heard for the French side of it, it's apparently French people just, if you were to directly translate, it's pretty rude compared to.
Yeah, I think as well is like, again, coming into culture is in France, if you are at a table in a restaurant, it is not rude to get the waiter's attention with clicking. Like that's the norm. That's the standardized norm. You do that here, your waiter's going to come over with a backhand. Like she's going to come over with a vendetta, or he's going to come over with a vendetta. You do that in France, that's just like.
I think it's not more that the waiter wouldn't come over with a vendetta. I think it's that everyone else would kind of view you as
they're like, oh, this is a snob.
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of touches into UK culture and the way we're able to keep each other accountable. It's actually very interesting the way that we're able to do that.
Yeah, it's like if you go into a pub and you start like, let's say you go to play the darts and there are people there who've been there for years and you start shitting on them because you're so good at darts. They're like, look at this dickhead. You know what I mean? Like we hold each other accountable.
It's like to humble everyone. Like there's no sense of ego.
There is no sense of ego because you go into the bar. There's always going to be someone who outdrinks you. They're going to keep your ego in check.
Yeah, exactly. And it's very interesting how UK culture does that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also sense of social programming. In order to maintain social cohesion, it's like we're pressured by everyone else to be a certain way, and that can be seen in good ways and bad ways. Because if you're a person who wants to change from the type of person you are, if you're pressured by everyone else to stay a certain way, you won't change. Because if everyone continues to humble you, let's put it like this.
I like the phrase, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
So Liam said it, yeah.
Oh my God. It's almost like I live with it.
Yeah, it was a great line. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
It's the same way as if there are 5 millionaires and they're the closest people that you spend time around, you're going to be the 6th. Same way as you spend time around 5 bums, you're going to be the 6th. You're the result of the 5 people you spend the most time around. So that's why I like to spend time around. But there's 3 people I spend the most time around. We got IFBB Pro, overall NPC bodybuilder who will cut the end off her banana and put it in the freezer because it's slightly over 100 grams. You know who you are. You know who you are. But that's the people that I spend my time around, which has inevitably led me to be better. And Liam is the ultimate ego checker. Soon as I'm like, I had a really good session today. This was today. Soon as I got in from the gym, I was like, I've had the best session I've had in a while. He was like, mate, you say that every session. You say that every session. He's like, you need to just shut up. Ultimate ego check. Yeah, which definitely gives me a check, which also makes me push to do better for the next session, to do better. If I ever missed a meal, I haven't missed a meal. God forbid I will not miss a meal. I'll get, if I do miss a meal, I will then get as close to that with whatever I've got available. So for example, if I leave something at home and I'm like not back till whatever, I will find a way to get as close to that as possible. But in a grand sense, I've not missed a meal. But God forbid if I did miss a meal, you give me a bollock. He would, because he likes to keep that in check.
As I did say, I think it's a great thing, but it can become negative in different scenarios. I mean, there's the very simple idea about the euphoric feeling you have after a gym session. Like you're all pumped up, blood's flowing, you're feeling great.
I hate myself after a gym session, bro. I don't know who's we.
After a good gym session, like you actually you put effort in, you've got a good pump. That feeling's great. But if you randomly to get that in a car while you're driving, you probably need to call an ambulance.
Yeah.
So the frame matters more than messaging.
Situation.
Yeah, so you can see what I'm talking about here. So the frame matters more than the messaging. Considering the way that this could be a bad thing, there's this idea, to be able to change ourselves, it becomes very difficult, especially if we still try to be in the groups that we were in previously. There's this person called Charles Horton Cooley. He has this idea called the self-looking glass. And it's that we come to know ourselves from seeing our reflection in the eyes of others. And if those mirrors keep the reflection of the old you, it becomes very hard to step out of that. Because it's continuously reinforcing who you used to be. And I think this goes into a very interesting topic that I've wanted to step into. I've been tackling this idea of whether the success that I have is deserved. Okay? Do you ever feel as though like something good happens? You might feel great about it, but then later down you're like, it wasn't that great. Like let me pull that down a little.
I said to myself that, so this was literally like just after the divorce as well. I won an overall. I won my first ever overall with Calvin at the PCA Nationals 1. I remember in the moment, I was like, yeah. And then I'm like 2 weeks later, I'm like,
got an interesting idea that I was talking to Kareem and Jim about this, a friend of mine, and you know Kareem.
I know Kareem.
Yeah. And so, okay, you must have seen recently, and as much as trivial as it is, Chris Williamson liked one of my posts.
Yeah.
I was so happy about it. I was shocked, but I was really happy about it. I was over the moon. I took a screenshot of it, posted my story. I was like, damn, like this guy's like my post. He's seen me, like fucking finally. But there was this veil of happiness in front of my eyes. And I know a lot of people would be like, just sit in the success and move on. But I couldn't stop thinking about it all day. And as the day came to a close, I'd become despondent. And I didn't feel as great about it anymore. Because in the moment when it happened, I thought to myself, okay, he's liked my post, therefore there's value in me. That is a reinforcer that I am a valuable person. Which is a different question in itself, like why am I searching for value from someone? I think everyone wants to be admired by the people they admire. But digressing from that point, it's just, I thought he saw value in me. Regardless if he followed me or not, it's like he liked the post, he saw value in me. But then when I thought about, okay, the post was George of the Tin Man on the show. Great guy, but he's the producer for Modern Wisdom. They're friends. Chris knows George. He's going to like the post. Like if you see George say something that's really valuable, he's going to like the post. So the value wasn't in me. It was George. So I was like, oh, then it doesn't matter that much. Before I go into my solution, what do you think of that? The fact that should have I sat in the success, been happy with it, or?
I think that's a big rabbit hole that you can go down, because again, you can spin a story any which way you like. Because if you again go into that justification, you could justify, again, it comes down to the religion one. I can give reasons for, I can give reasons against. I can give reasons for that he thought that it was, because obviously your guest is not going to answer a question or give wisdom unless you ask the correct question. So inherently you gave the value. The value was you. You were the one who produced it. You set up all of these cameras. You set this up. You were the one who invited him on the show, got him to share his wisdom with the right question. Obviously, in order for him to say the right thing, you needed to ask the right thing. So inherently, the wisdom is on you, and the reasoning for the sort of admiration from Chris Will was on you. Yes, his friend was in it, but I still think it was you. And that's my justification for why it was you and not him. But then again, you've gone to the fact that, oh, but they're friends, therefore, you saw that he liked it. You don't know unless you ask him. You need to ask him. You're like, why did you like the tell us? And then you'll get your answer. But unless you have a definitive answer, again, this is what I was talking about earlier with one of my clients. You have objective biomarkers and subjective biomarkers. Because if I ask you right now, how do you feel? Give a scale 1 to 10.
Oh, okay.
Just I don't care what the feeling is. Just, well, how do you feel? 1 to 10.
Like an 8.
Like an 8. Yeah. That's a subjective biomarker. Yeah. Your objective biomarker is if I pull your blood, what's your hematocrit? That is an objective biomarker. That is a number. Yeah. That's a number that's written on paper. You can't measure your feeling. You can't measure, you know, like I can't like look at someone's, like, for example, libido. I can look at someone can have like 1200 testosterone and whatever, like perfect on paper. And they're like, yeah, mate, I got no sex drive. That's objective. You know? Sorry, that's subjective. The subjectiveness of that is on you. It's the same way as you feel that you gain inherent value from people liking your post. So someone like Chris Williamson liking your post, you gained value and then you took that value away because you wanted to justify it wasn't for you, it was for someone else. But then again, I can justify the complete opposite way.
Yeah.
Because you've justified it in the way that your brain made sense of it. So that's my take on that.
You're right. And this is a similar conclusion that we both came to, and I connected some ideas in order to get to it. The connection that I made was, so in evolutionary biology,
I've read into that recently. Actually.
Yeah, evolution is very, very interesting. So in evolutionary biology, when two people get into a relationship and one mate has a perceived lower mate value than the other, keep in mind the keyword perceived. In reality, they may be the same mate value, but one believes they're lower than the other. What they do, this is why verbal abuse or physical abuse happens in relationships. They will inflict costs on the partner who they believe is higher value than them in order to bring down that partner's perceived value of themselves to their level. Because then they can feel as though they deserve to be in a relationship, or they deserve this thing. Or it's brought down to that value, and then you can just kind of move on and not be so worried about the fact that this thing happened. I've linked this idea into exactly what's happened here. And again, it seems trivial to talk about this thing where Chris Williams says, liked your post. Like, all he did is double tap a screen. Like, why is it so obsessing over it? But I think it's a good way to have a look into myself. I've connected it because this great thing happened. He sat somewhere in Texas or wherever he was at the time, middle of his tours. He scrolled on his phone, and one of my posts I edited in my room in Chelmsford has come up on his page.
Chelmsford?
Yeah,
Chelmsford. I'm kidding. Chelmsford's actually lovely.
It's better than a lot of the places in
I said it's better. Nods.
But yeah, it came up on his page while he's sitting in between tours, and he's liked it.
And you should be bloody proud of yourself, but.
And it's like, yeah, this great thing's happened. I should have been happy about myself. Yeah, but what I've done is, I don't perceive myself as a person who deserves Chris Williamson liking their post. So I view myself down here. This thing that's happened seems like it's deserved to someone who's way above. I also
think that there are people who are on the complete opposite end of the scale. Now, again,
what do you mean?
Oh, when I say the complete opposite, I mean overconfidence in themselves to the point where it comes across as arrogance. I can think of a few people. I'm not going to name drop, but we probably know, a few people will know because I speak about it quite frequently about how it can affect people. And I do justify it to a degree because I think that, if you've got that much confidence in yourself, fantastic, well on you. But I do think it has, obviously, being on one or the other end of the spectrum does have negative side, negative connotations. So someone who's hyper confident in themselves, they're going to drive themselves to do better because they're just going to keep doing better because they know they can, because they're so confident in their ability to do something. And the thing is, one example of that is Yemi Adefoye. Do you know Yemi?
Yes.
Yeah. So he is, now I know some people genuinely think he's arrogant. He's not arrogant. He's just confident. He's genuinely the most confident person I've met. Like, he's so confident in his ability, his genetics, his ability to do it. He spoke into the fact, he's like, I am going to the Olympia. I will go to the Olympia. And what did he fucking do? He went to the damn Olympia because of how confident he was. I guarantee right now that if he had not said that to himself and he hadn't had that confidence in himself to do that, he wouldn't have done it. Guarantee.
Well, you need a bit of delusion.
Yeah, he kind of is a little bit. He's a little bit nuts, but we love him. So yeah, it's the way he is.
People are delusional.
It's great because he's so delusional with the way he's. And I think genuinely he's got the structure to do it. I think he might be Mr. Olympia one day at Classic Physique. Silly small waist, crazy taper, And he's got good arms and legs. He just needs all he needs is just the tissue. He's got the shape. He's got the structure and everything. He just needs to put that tissue on, brings it in, wham, jumps a wrap, easy peasy.
Yeah. I think that delusion is necessary in terms of to be successful. I think, but it's not the only thing.
If you need, they're not big enough.
Yes. You need delusion with crippling insecurity.
Facts. If you don't hate yourself enough, you ain't gonna change.
Yes. You need to have monumental dreams for yourself, but you also need to know you're not doing enough.
Yep.
And those two mixed together is what will make success.
100%.
But I think to go back to my point, to mix the abusive relationship thing and into me bringing down the value of something great. And I think a lot of people do this. There's this thing that's happened to you. That's great. You've not updated your own perception of yourself, regardless of how much effort you've put in, regardless of how much you've worked on yourself, regardless of how far you've come. You've not updated your own perception of yourself.
I do that. I still look and see the fat kid in the mirror.
And then that's where body dysmorphia comes from. Yeah. And if we're unable to update our preferences about ourselves, then we will bring down our successes to a level where it's like, oh, the fuck? Like this meant nothing. What does this mean anyways? Let me just move on. Or if anything, you make yourself feel worse about the thing that was supposed to make you feel great. That's because you don't think you deserve it, because your value of yourself isn't updated to the person you are now.
No, I fully agree.
So I wanted to tap into authenticity as well.
Yeah.
And there's this great line from Arcane.
Yes, Arcane reference dropped.
Arcane reference. This is, for anyone who hasn't watched it, this is a spoiler, so you can skip past the next 15 seconds. But Silco has a line when he's talking to Jinx in the jail cell, and he says, "We build our own prisons, bars forged by oaths, codes, commitments, walls of self-doubt and accepted limitation. We inhabit these cells, these identities, and we call them us." I've been thinking a lot about what are the things that make us who we are. And it's a question that's been, I've tried to inculcate this idea into myself. Like it's been plaguing my mind. How can I be more authentic? And I know everyone talks about it. You have to think for yourself. Stop having everyone else's beliefs. Have your own ideas.
Oh, fuck.
About
what anyone fucking thinks. What anyone thinks. I don't care. Matter of fact, I actually don't care to the point where if you wanted me to, I would just start barking, like in public. Because like, the way that I saw it was, I can be myself. Because if you don't like me, life's short. Yeah? If you don't like me, why am I trying to impress people I don't like?
Yeah, but maybe you're the problem.
I've not thought about that. Maybe I am the problem, but here we are. I mean, I've there's nothing that you can say to me that I ain't said 3 inches from a mirror. But, what the point is that when it comes to that spec of things, no one really cares. So just be yourself. And when I say no one really cares, if I go in public and I start barking really loudly, sure, people are going to be like, yo, that guy's real weird. Are they going to remember that in 15 minutes? No. I mean, maybe. It ain't passing an hour, though. That's the thing. Because once you realize that people don't care, you can just be yourself.
I was talking about more in the sense of, like, that's fine. And I get that's an easy way to avoid social pressure and sort of being crowded up in one corner. Sorry?
Feel like they can be judged.
Yeah, feeling like being crowded up in one corner, being cornered by the public eye. That's an easy way to get past that. But in terms of, like for me, in the content space, how I podcast, what I talk about, what are the studies and case studies I bring up, how this is the idea of being authentic in that sense is very difficult because I have people I admire in the space. I have people who are doing better than me in the space. And I think I've always been stuck on this idea that if they've done that thing, and it's got them success. If I do something like that, along the lines of, if anything, the same, I should get the same results. And unfortunately that you won't, because you're like them and no one's going to care because they can just go watch them.
Yeah.
No one's going to beat, you're not going to beat that person at being them, but no one's going to beat you at being you. And I've heard it so many times. It's trite.
Be unique, but find a way to do it in which makes you happy. So for example, not everyone's going to enjoy the same stuff, because you're always going to have people who hate what you do, and you're always going to have people that love what you do. Because, if you ask 3 different people about me, I could pick them out. I'm not going to name drop, but one of them loves me, the other one hates me, and the other one thinks I'm weird as shit. Like, you've got the perception of that. But at the same time, as if I pick out, some of the closer people around me, they'll love what I've got to say. They think I'm hilarious. And you've got other people who think, oh, not this guy again. But the least funny person I've ever met in my life. It's the same way. I think that, there's some people who think that Amy Schumer is, I actually have a tattoo of every funny Amy Schumer joke on my arm. Like the thing is, when it comes to stuff like that, is some people think Amy Schumer is really funny. She's just not my cup of tea. That's the same way I really like Jimmy Carr. I think he's funny. I like, I was going to say Milton Keynes there, but I mean Milton Jones. But I like these comedians, but some people are like, oh yeah, he's not funny at all.
Yeah, I came across a subsection where I thought most people liked Jimmy Carr for his stuff, and then I literally came across a video where there was someone hating on it, and all the comments were like, finally, some Jimmy Carr hate, some Jimmy Carr slander. So yeah, you always find subsections of people who hate that.
That's what I'm saying. Just be authentic, because, as I said, you're always going to have people hate, and you're always going to have people love. So appeal to that crowd, to that niche per se, and you'll be able to make it. Ask the questions you want to know, not what you think the people want to know.
So it's a tough. It's one that I struggle to tackle, because let me put it like this. Let me put my own personal experience of this out. I used to make gym content. Right. Okay. And when I did, I tried to get into like really good sumo form, for example. And there was some, ruin your ears, bro. When I tried to get into it, there was someone that I saw who had really good sumo form, and I thought, you know what, I can get it as well. So then I started doing it. I started having I started getting into the mobility. I started getting the sumo form that he had, very similar. And I started posting like he did. Same way that he posts, same way that he films his videos, and the same like captions and stuff. I was posting like that, and it got me some followers and whatsoever. But then again, that didn't feel real. Then I started getting into self-improvement content. Not this, but some other type of self-improvement content. Someone I used to watch, Hamza, on YouTube. And he was like, oh, you guys need to start a self-improvement channel. So I did, and a lot of the videos that I made were exactly like Hamza. Now, I'd have people being like, oh, Hamza 2.0, Hamza copycat, and some people who liked it, and etc. But regardless, that happened. And then when I got into this podcasting thing, like, I know there are things that I take from Chris Williamson that a lot of people will notice. It's like, okay, you're doing the Chris Williamson thing, aren't you?
I'll speak on this in a sense of, I think that a shell is okay. So, for example, if we look at a car is a good example. What does a car need in order to be a car?
Wheels, doors, motor, engine.
What can you customize on the car?
Can you customize the outlet of it? Yeah.
Pretty much everything.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can choose. No, yes, it needs wheels, but what kind of wheels? How many wheels? Is the question. Again, what kind of engine? It needs an engine. Is that going to be an electric engine? A small engine? A V6, a V8, a W16, or God forbid, a fucking, whatever, like a humongous engine. That's what makes it a car. Obviously, you can customize what it is, but again, the color changes. Is everyone going to like a really loud, fast car? No. Some people want a small little hatchback to get them from A to B. You don't need to please everyone with what you do, but you need to figure out what makes something what it meant to be. So for a podcast, what do you need for a podcast? You need good audio quality. You need, I presume a video, but there are obviously audio-only podcasts. You need a topic, an agenda. So your agenda is, self-improvement or knowledge gathering, I would say. And then you've got the infinite amount of customizable options. What cameras do you use? How many camera angles do you use? What is the style in which you then film? How are you sat across from me? What are you wearing? What's behind? What's in the backdrop? I mean, you've got a little blue light down there. Has anyone else got that little blue light? Probably not, but it's still a customization. People like it. That's what makes you you. What makes you unique. Does it mean that you need to be a carbon copy of a, Ford Focus RS, or can you be like a Pagani Zonda? It doesn't matter, because there are going to be guys who want a Ford Focus RS but don't want a Pagani Zonda, even though the difference in the price or whatever. Let's say a Ford Focus RS is it's cheaper. It's also more mass appealing. Can more people afford it? Can more people tap into it? Yeah, they can. Pagani Zonda, that's like a paid podcast or whatever. Is everyone going to get that? Not really. Doesn't mean it's not better. Is it better? It might be. Might have better production quality. It might have better mic setup or whatever. Doesn't mean that everyone's going to have that or enjoy that more. So just take that away from the fact that if you can be unique, there's always some takeaway. You need something to be a shell, and then you can customize around it.
Given that, what do you think actually makes us?
That is a very long question to try and answer in a broad sense. In a short sense, I think the individuality of man.
What do you mean by that?
Free will.
Okay.
But in a broad sense, free will doesn't exist. So I think it's also like, as I say, you are the direct outcome of the 5 people you spend the most time around, but you're also a direct outcome of the way you were brought up and the way that you grew up. Because I guarantee someone who is a die-hard Muslim, for example, if you brought them up in an atheist household, they'd be an atheist. It's the way that you're brought up, not other things. That's what makes us who we are. If you look at people who flinch when you move near them, the likelihood is they have had a rough growing up and they've been hit a lot as a child or in a relationship or whatever. That's what makes people who they are. So it's experience, effectively. In one word, experience is what makes us who we are.
Okay. So then, given that, actually,
slowly starting to make sense.
Yeah, but I'm trying to pull out caveats to make this interesting here. If you took 2 twins and brought them up in the same environment, basically the same experiences.
Okay.
Because it would be hard as a parent where you start separating the experiences that each
I
have.
actually know twins.
Okay.
I know quite a few twins, actually. Funnily enough, now thinking about it, I know an alarming amount of twins.
And twin hunting.
They do, God, I'm like Goebbels.
Okay.
So when it comes to twins, I do find they are drastically similar. But the thing is, where they tend to be different is it tends to be social circles. Because they tend not to be in the same social circles, which means that they've grown up ever so slightly different in terms of socials.
Okay.
Not just that, but usually hobbies. They usually don't do the same hobbies. Now, I grew up around a pair of twins, and they did everything together, like absolutely everything together. They dated the same kind of women, not same women, same kind of women. They did the same subjects in school. They ended up doing the same job and stuff. They're genuinely one and the same. So I do think it is experiences that makes us who we are, because that is probably my main, that's my main reference point, is they've done everything together and they are pretty much the same person. The only thing that is different is one of them has a wonky eye and a bit more acne. That's it.
Do you think people believe what they actually believe? Do you think a lot of people's beliefs are born out of their own experiences?
I always think there will be some form of self-doubt.
What do you mean?
Always.
Like self-doubt
doesn't matter. And whatever you're doing. So for example, business, there's always going to be self-doubt. Is this business going to be good enough? Or am I actually going to do this? Or is this the right move? Is this actually what I want to do? Same with religion. Do I actually believe this? Like, this makes sense, but does this? Like, do I question this? Have I made the right move here? Video games, was this the right move? Or cars, did I take the right, did I pick the right car or whatever? I think there's always going to be some inner monologue, an inner dialogue of yourself that is going to doubt the choices you make. I've doubted myself. I've doubted, am I in the right space? And then I'm like, I was 21 and I won an overall. I was 20 and I won an overall. Was I 21? I think it was 21 and I won an overall. Most people don't win their first overall until they're like 25, 26, 28. I've achieved things that coaches who've been in this space for a decade have not achieved. So yeah, I'm in the right space. Without sounding arrogant, I know what I'm good at and I'm going to keep doing it because I'm good at it. Does that mean there are other people who aren't better than me? No. But obviously that self-doubt comes in because there are people who are better than you. I compare myself frequently to people around me because people around me are the same age. Look at Jack Eagles, for fuck's sake. He'll be an Olympian. He's one of the best bodybuilders in the UK in terms of classic physique. I hate always reverting everything to bodybuilding, but it's what I'm in, so I've got a reference point. But if we look at someone like, Liam as well, he's a year older than I, and he is fucking massive. Like, obviously the way that we've grown up is different. His grow up was, his childhood was effectively quite militant. Like I won't speak on his business, but the way that he does everything is super disciplined. He's very hard on himself, but he's also just like, he doesn't miss a beat. He doesn't. So the way that we approach that is slightly different. I've not done this as long as he has, but at the same time as I look at him, I just look at everything at face value. Now, obviously, if we look back at stuff and we start to get a bigger picture rather than looking through a keyhole, you start to realize why he's bigger. Because you've been doing it since he was 14. I only started training at 16, and that was in the gym at the leisure center. And then I only started taking it properly when I was like 17, 18. So, that's comparative to when he started at 14. And ever since he got in the gym at 14, he's been dialed in since day one. There's a big difference between that. But if you just look at the fact that he is a year older than me and he's absolutely wow as shit, at the same time I was, if he's in the same position I was, he was already a pro. So there's always that understanding where there is going to be that self-doubt, but you need to start looking at a bigger picture.
Given that, how do you deal with comparison?
I like to try and keep everything as objective as possible rather than keep it subjective. Like if I just look at an objective fact rather than, because I love the phrase. Now, anyone around me who knows is going to be infuriated by the way I say this because I say this so often. Facts do not care about your feelings, unfortunately. And that's the reality of it. Does a fact care about how you feel? No. If I shot you in the face with a shotgun, is that going to kill you?
Yes.
It's a fact. If I stab you in the leg, is it going to hurt?
Yes.
Does it care about your feelings? No. Same concept. So is someone like if I look at someone and I say, you are fat, does that fact care about your feelings? Are you obese? Yes. Therefore, that is a fact. Feelings? Unaffected. They don't care because that's the fact. Let's go and say, you're wearing glasses. Specky. It is a fact. A horrible way to put it.
I don't feel like I'm wearing glasses. What do you mean?
You are wearing glasses. That is an objective fact. It's an objective reality. But that's the way that I try and deal with comparison is I try and keep it as objective as possible. Or I try and find ways to understand why. Because a lot of the question is why. And a lot of the times we'll ask ourselves why. Why do we do this? Why do we do that? Why are they like this? Why am I not like that? And you start to understand that there are whys and they can be answered. So as I said earlier with Liam, I compare myself to his physique quite frequently because dude's jacked. He's humongous. He's like 227 right now. And I'm like 182. There's a 40-pound difference of, yeah, he's a bit taller than me, but at the same time, you just look at him and he's just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
How is that real? And you just sort of like, is understanding what it took to get to there in that comparison. It's the way that I look at, business wise. If I look at someone who's got a better business than me, what are they doing better that I'm not doing? Because they're clearly doing something that I'm not doing, which is making them better. Now, whether that comes into an objective picture, if I take myself to stand back and open the door rather than looking through the keyhole, and I look and I go, right, that overnight success took 10 years. It's a bit different, or have they had a hand me down, or have they, in terms of business wise, do they know the right people? Because obviously, as they say, it's what you know. It's not what you know, it's who you know. So there's that side of things. Comparison, I've tried not to compare myself to other people because I do like to think that it is inevitably me versus me at the end of the day. I do try and do better than yesterday pretty much every single day. So when I get up tomorrow morning, I'm going to try and do better than today because I'm very, very objective with how bad I am at certain things. Like sometimes I'm horrendous. I'm so poor at time management. Have been for a while, but I'm getting better at it, which is, it's something that you can work at. So you got to be objective and harsh on yourself. Again, if you call yourself useless, you're going to change. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think the entire thing about... Whoa, wait. It was I wanted to get into the idea about how, I've lost it in my head. Like it was there like a second ago. Now it's gone. We are... Our environment, the people who've already done something, are what can help us into figuring out what we want.
Yeah.
And I think it's trite to say you against you, because at the end of the day, like it's repeated. I want to be better than who I was before. I want to be better than who I was before. But we define who we want to be by what we've seen other people achieve, and we want to be in a similar position to that. And then we think that, okay, if we could be in that position, that kind of person, we want to be confident because we've seen confident people and see that confidence has value. So then we mold that into the identity that we want to inhabit in ourselves. So I think the you against you kind of works, but it also doesn't, because I want to be the best. I want to be better than who is the best right now. So then I'm defining where I want to be by what everyone else has done. And if I don't know what everyone else has done...
I somewhat disagree.
Let me finish this up. Like if I don't know what everyone else has done, where can I define where I need to be? And to be fair, to play devil's advocate on it, and this might help your side, it's like, if I do not know where I want to be in terms of like who is the best, there comes a sense of authenticity with that. Because it's like, okay, if it's just me against me, I can just keep iterating this. Beat me yesterday. And you might at some point, maybe in a year, in less time than it took someone who is at the top, it will take you less time to get to the top because all you thought about was me against me. So I can see some benefits to it, but why do you disagree?
I disagree in the sense that, so for example, if I want to improve myself, let's say in physique, even though, I think there's an internalized sense of self for myself that I know that I can't do what other people do. Like, I'm never going to be Mr. Olympia. I'm never going to get to the Olympia because my genetics won't allow it. It's not going to stop me from trying to do better every single day, every single gym session, pushing for better numbers. No, not at all. I'm still going to push for that. There's not someone that I've got in mind. I just want to be... You've seen the Matthew McConaughey speech where he's like, my hero is me in 10 years. And then in 10 years, my hero will be me in another 10 years. That's effectively what I'm looking for, is with coaching, I want to upgrade my services. I just want to be better at it. So I want to be able to do it quicker. I want to do it faster. I want to do it more effective. Not in a lazy way, but in a way that I can look at something and just immediately be able to be like, right, this is the move. That's what we're going to do. This, that, the other. But what does that involve? That involves reading more. It involves applying more with more experience. So the more I can experience it, I'm not going to lie to you and sit here and be like, I don't want to be the best in the world. I fucking do. Hanny, I'm coming for your position. But like, being hailed as best in the UK, again, I think it's a popularity contest. Like I got shortlisted for posing coach of the year from Beyond the Stage TV. Now, if you look at the original one for the nominations to tag the people in there, every other comment was Butcher, Matthew Chapman from Natural Physique, and just because of some words that an affiliated person to Matthew said, they didn't put him on the shortlist for the ability to vote. I think it should have been him. I'll be so honest. I think he would have got it if they didn't have a personal issue against him. It's a popularity contest. Because if I ask you, who's your favorite music artist?
Sleep Token.
Sleep Token. I never even heard of them. It's a popularity contest in a specific niche as well. But my popularity thing is, I really like Anger Fist. I like hardcore music. I like hardstyle. I like that stuff. Do you like hardstyle? Probably not. Exactly. I think it's a popularity contest with the right people. So the best coach in the UK, who is it? I personally think it's Ross. You know why? Because he's my coach. Like, if you ask different people, they're going to give you a different answer. And that's my stance on it. It's so subjective that if you say who is the best or whatever, is there an objective best? Because you could always argue the politics, especially in bodybuilding. You're like, oh, did Samson, did Marty really win Prague? Did he? Because you could argue politics. Marty got paid to win. I personally think he won, but then you've got other people who are like, oh, but I think Hardy should have won the Olympia. I think Andrew should have won the Olympia. So it's who you ask that it brings to, which is why if you believe in yourself, and this comes back to that confidence point, if you believe in yourself that you are the best coach in the UK, you're the best coach in the UK to yourself. Doesn't mean you can't improve though, because even the best can improve. Because the thing is, let's take runners for example. If you sprint the 100 meters in 9 seconds, what's your next goal? To improve, to do it faster than the time before.
Yeah,
that's it. Even if you're number one in the world, you still want to beat that.
Well, yeah, I think that's a solution for like first place syndrome, which is like if you're first place and you have no one else to beat, it's like it becomes harder to maintain that. Like it's like you shouldn't pity the person in 30th place. You should pity the person second. It's like they have to keep going back and forth in this, trying to maintain first, like the person who's gone from first to second has lost everything. It's like I was the best, and now I'm just second. It's like the repeated adage of no one remembers second place, and
yeah, people who aren't in sports don't understand that second is worse than fifth.
Yes, it's a silver medalist syndrome.
Yeah,
it's like if you come third place, you're on the podium, you're happy.
Yeah, I
think
second place. You were almost there.
Yeah, people who came second are the unhappiest.
Yeah, and you can see it if you watch any sport that has an ability to be in the podium or whatever. See, second's always miserable.
I met at the Commonwealth Games. I can't even remember. Maybe 2 years ago, something like that. I think in my close proximity family circle, like my dad has a friend who's close friends with the family of the boxer. We went there we didn't watch the thing. I think my dad watched him. We went there and we saw him come out. He came second. Big dude, jacked, great boxer, silver medal around his neck. Everyone's celebrating. They're like playing the Indian drums, the traditional drums. Everyone's shouting. Everyone's asking for pictures, congratulating him. He just wants to go home.
Yep.
He's not happy. You can clearly see it in his face. Like he's trying his best to maintain some composure for everyone who's trying to take pictures with him. By the end of the day, he's not happy. And you can see it. And to see that in person, like you first I was confused. I was like, you came second.
I get to deal with that a lot with a lot of my competitors. Is if you now I get a very unbiased view from them because they'll tell me how they're feeling afterwards. Because I'll be like, how'd you feel, mate? How'd you feel? And they'll be like, mate, I could kill myself. Like I've had one of my clients was like, he's like, bro, I genuinely could just shoot myself. If you got a gun, is what he said to me. I was just like, mate, listen, this is a regional show. This isn't the Olympia. It's not that deep. You need to chill. And that's the thing. People don't realize how attached people get to the sort of namesake of holding first place. So understanding that, yes, I won this. You see people put it in their bios and stuff. They're like, right, cool. I'm going to then name a really niche show that no one actually watched, but I won this category. Because they're proud of it. You never ever see people put in, I won second place in this category in this show. It's only the winners. As they say, no one remembers second place.
It's like how people, it's kind of similar. People put the universities to get into in their bios. Maybe to let other people know, like, I go to this university, but it's more of like if you put University of Cambridge in your bio, like, yeah, I got to Cambridge.
Yeah, that's like standing up and just swinging a massive flaccid penis.
But not the person who missed out on Cambridge and going to Oxford says in their bio, I missed out on Cambridge by going to Oxford. They'll just say Oxford. But it's a similar sort of idea here, where it's like, people aren't proud of what they missed out on. It's loss aversion at the end of the day. People aren't proud of what they missed out on. Because if you came second, you missed out on first place. If you came third, you missed out on second and first, but you're on the podium, so it's a win.
Yeah.
Yeah, people don't like missing out on things.
No, not at all.
Well, might as well finish it off here. Ladies and gentlemen, Stewie Hemsley.
Thank you very much, Vansh.
Where can people go to see what you've been doing?
If you'd like socials, Coached by Stewie on Instagram is my main handle. I think that's about it, really. I might start a YouTube, which will probably be called the same thing.
You don't understand how many people have said that to me at the end when I've
might start a YouTube.
Might start a YouTube, and they just haven't. So
I think it's more so that again, going back to like people not caring, I don't think I'd post long form content. One, because I understand the concept of long form content is now outdated. People don't watch long form content pretty much ever. Like, unless it's a podcasts you can listen to casually and stuff. But if it's like an actual like form, they don't get as many views as short form content. So I understand that the money
was even viewers, bro.
He's built a platform off that for years, though. If I started now, it's like trying to get into the vape market. If you go into the vape market in 2016, fuck no, you're making bank.
Yeah.
Now, but if you get in now, it's like OnlyFans management. I used to do OnlyFans management and marketing, and when I got in, I was, I wasn't even fantastic at what I did, and I was making 15 grand a month. If I got into that now, be lucky if I made $1,000. Yeah, there's saturation. So that's why I say I might make a YouTube, and that would not be for other people. That would be for like, here is something it's too long to post on Instagram, so YouTube can have it.
That's awesome.
Cool. Lovely. Thank you very much for having me.
Of course. Hell yeah.